Hello, and thank you for joining us on Spiritually Speaking. My name is Patricia Varley, and we welcome you. Our focus for the month of October is spirituality and holistic politics, and we've had a variety of guests joining us. Today, I'm very excited to have Dr. Bobby Stevens, author of the book Unlimited Futures, Understanding the Life You Have and Creating the Life You Want. Hello, Bobby. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you. I mean, this sounds empowering and inspiring and wonderful, but what would you tell our viewers who are, just in day-to-day life and they're busy and, well, what difference does it make who I vote for, and I don't believe in any of the candidates, and can you give us some specific, I don't know if it's tools or techniques or approaches that could maybe, even small little ones that could help us shift, or things that we can do so that we can begin to really make a difference and to shift the way and again, politics being one arena, things, the end result, to shift from the level of cause.
Yes.
So that the end result is something different.
Right. Well, the first thing is we need to become quiet.
Okay.
We need to stop chasing around as we normally do. Because when we're stressed, it affects our perception.
Okay.
So we can't see things clearly. So the first step, I would say, is to make a choice to take some quiet time, to become quiet and still, and get in touch with yourself. Be open to your own guidance, to your own understanding, and know that you're making the choice that you're making because it's what you believe in, because it's what you understand. And then the second thing is to get as much information as possible about the candidates.
Okay.
Most, I would say, a large majority of our society really don't know anything or know very little about the candidates.
So become more educated.
Absolutely. It's a responsibility of all of us to know what our choices are about and what our choices are, so we can make effective choices for ourselves and for everybody else.
So what I hear you saying is and this is the spiritual piece of it, it's doing the inner work. It's taking that quiet time, whatever your personal, spiritual, or self-care, or whatever your practice is for you, is making and taking the time to nurture your soul, and to nurture your spirit, to nurture that essence. And then the other piece is the outer work, or the outer, what I would say, to be more proactive.
Exactly.
To vote, to do your homework, to make a conscious choice that speaks to your inner truth.
Exactly. Exactly. It's extremely important to understand the power that we all have. We all, actually, all the problems in the world would go away if we only knew how powerful we are within ourselves, because all of these problems originate because someone somewhere doesn't know how to fulfill their needs and desires.
Okay.
And that's what causes all disharmony. It causes wars. It causes all of our problems, is because we don't know who we are, and we don't know the power that we have. And if we learn how to become quiet and still and get that there's so much that can come from within our own knowing. I mean, we do know on some level, but we're so busy, we don't listen. So on some level, we know what to do. We know what would be the best direction to go. But unless we take some time to become still and quiet and ask just within ourselves, we miss it, and so we consequently end up doing the same things we've always done.
And getting the same results we've always done.
Exactly. I believe that's the definition of insanity.
Insanity, right?
Keep doing the same thing, expecting to get a different result. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the word power, about us knowing and claiming and understanding how powerful we are. But often in the political arena, I would speak in a general term here, is that power is often misused.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's maybe more divine or spiritual power, and then maybe more a power that's either based on ego or based on something else. I mean, can you talk about that?
Sure. Power is misunderstood. Basically, all the power of the universe it basically comes from love. Love is the power of the universe. And we see power as something quite different from that. We think power is force and fear, because that's part of what the whole process is. We think that if a person's not doing what we want them to do, then we need to show them how powerful we are, so they're afraid of us. Well, that just is going to create the same result in them. They're going to be more powerful, so we're afraid of them, and it continues to escalate. That's not power. That's what we have called power because we don't understand what power really is. Power is the ability that we have on a deeper level to see and understand that there are laws of nature, there are principles of life that's governing how everything works. On the intellectual level, we don't understand that. Intellectually, we cannot see those principles. But intuitively, when we learn to become quiet and still and settle down, we can intuitively know, and we can begin to see and cognize that the world actually functions according to specific principles. And what the government does is what we do as a society is we create laws to tell people that if you do this thing, you're going to be punished, and if you do this, it's going to be good. Well, there are actually laws of nature that's taking care of that all the time. We're simply trying, we're simply trying to get people's attention, and we're trying to say, this is how it works, and we're kind of taking from the laws of nature, but we don't really understand it. So the power is within each of us, but until we take some time to get to know that power and develop our abilities, we don't know how powerful we are. We think that power is outside ourselves, and we think that it's struggle, and we think that other people can control our lives and can do things to make our life better or worse, and what we don't understand is we're actually creating it. We're making it all up, and we can make it the way we want it.
So don't you feel that a lot of people might feel that the government does do that they're controlling a lot, using power?
They're definitely controlling, but they do not have the power. There's nothing outside of ourselves that actually has power over us. If we know that power from within, it doesn't matter what anybody does. We simply don't have to get into it. We have a choice. We always have a choice, and we can choose to come from within ourselves and make our choices from within ourselves and create our personal lives the way we want them to be. And when enough of us do that, we'll create a totally different world. It's a process, as I said, an evolutionary process, and it's just a matter of enough people making the choice to discover who they really are that's going to make a huge difference. And of course we have all of these choices that we have to make in the political arena. We have an election coming up. We have to make a choice. We have to say, what are our choices, first of all? And it's very important that we understand what the choices are. It's very important that we get all the information we can to be sure that we know what the choices are. And then we make the best choice we can. And it will affect our lives because we're all connected. And because we're all connected, everything each of us does affects all of us to some point.
Well, and that's the whole spiritual principle of spirituality is connection.
Exactly.
It is where we are, we affect one another. And there is a responsibility in that.
Absolutely.
There absolutely is. I was thinking about, I don't know this verbatim, but there was a quote that Eleanor Roosevelt said that they cannot take our respect if we don't give it to them.
That's right.
And it's something like that. And she said that, Eleanor Roosevelt, that we can't, unless we allow other people, and it's also how we choose to be affected by it. But I think one of the spiritual principles, even when like I turn on the TV and I see these political advertisements or the polls or the issues or the problems that are going on in the world, I find what often helps me from a spiritual perspective in looking at the whole political process and the upcoming election for myself is to step back and observe consciously everything that's going on instead of getting caught up in all the stories and all the drama and everything that is going on, and just sort of watch it and observe it. And really that's, I think, a spiritual technique. And you also talked about getting quiet or trusting your intuition, but noticing it for what it is. And then saying, okay, how can I access that higher, deeper potential in me to make a more conscious choice, knowing that I do make a difference and I can. It's about creating the life that you want.
Yes.
But what I like about your subtitle is you have to first understand the life you have.
Yes.
If you don't understand
right.
where you are and you're not committed to making that shift, then you can't create the life that you want.
That's
and
right.
that's where the Unlimited Futures comes from.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. You have to say what is, and you have to be able to accept what is, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
We simply have to be able to accept what is, and then we can look at what is and say, what do I choose to create in my future?
Mm-hmm.
And we can start working with the process for creating what we what we want in our lives. And as far as what's going on in the world around us, we can more or less, rather than being down in the arena where all the fighting and all the disturbance is going
Sure.
on, you can move up to the bleachers and just look at it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Just observe what's happening. And from that perspective, you can know that what's happening is happening for a purpose, but we do not have to get into it.
You don't have to
a
be caught
choice.
up in all of the drama or the
Exactly.
chaos or the often what looks like hopelessness or futility of it all.
Exactly.
Well, and I know you've got some programs that are geared towards individuals, but also towards leaders and business people. But leadership is also political leadership.
Yes.
What we're looking at are candidates and presidents and vice presidents and people in the Senate and the House. What are some of the ideas or the principles in your programs in terms of working with leaders that you feel would help shift some of their consciousness or how they operate? Because they influence so many people, political leaders. It's a huge responsibility.
Right. Yes. The leadership is basically, we're all coming from who we are. We're all coming from our own level of understanding of who we are.
Okay.
So the leader needs to take the time to, again, just like everybody else, to get in touch with who he or she is. And if that person can find that wholeness within themselves and realize that connection, they can begin to understand the laws of nature, the principles of life that's actually governing us, and work in harmony with those principles. And actually, leadership qualities are who we really are. I mean, as we know ourselves, we become leaders, because that leadership is the essence of who we are. We all have that ability, but most of the time we don't know. Again, we don't know that. So it's a process, and I would suggest that the leaders simply take the time, even though there seems to be, we understand things on the physical level, and there seems to be so much going on here that we need to take care of. But more important than taking care of all the external things is taking care of the internal things.
So a shift in political leadership would also be about them taking the time, the leaders
Yes.
taking the time. But I also
Absolutely.
think it's for them to recognize the value and the
Yes.
benefit.
Absolutely.
It's a value-based too, a values-based or principles-based leadership or spiritually-based leadership is taking the time for them to be more balanced,
Yes.
to get more, have more of an inner life, and then that is a different way that they would lead in the outer world.
Exactly.
Which would make a difference for all of us.
Sure. Who we are reflects in our lives. And for the leaders, who they are will reflect in their actions, in the things that they do. And that's an internal process, and we all have to do it for ourselves. Unfortunately, we can't do it for anybody else.
Of course not. But by making that commitment to take that time individually, sharing that with others, we can inspire and influence and empower. We model that for one another. We can lead
Exactly.
ourselves to lead and influence one another. So it's important to take the time for yourself to know that you can create the life that you want by first understanding the life that you have, and to know that by getting out and voting and making a difference,
Yes.
by voting, you can help to not just empower yourself, but help to transform the world.
Yes.
And it is a process, one day, one person, one moment at a time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And Bobby, I want to thank you today for being part of our show and for sharing your time and your book with us, Unlimited Futures, How to Understand what Life You Have and Create the Life You Love. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Patricia. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And hopefully the show will make a difference in what happens when election day comes.
No, it absolutely will, and I think the most important thing for our viewers is that they understand that they do make a difference.
Yes.
So please get out and vote. Take the time to connect with your inner spirit and know that you do and you will make a difference. Thank you for joining us.